Welcome to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Hi, everyone. Lee Brecheen. I wish everybody a healthy day, night, and morning. I know we're all getting out there having to get groceries, and some of us have doctor appointments, and we got to take care of our families. I just hope we pray for all the families out there in Louisiana, all over the country. We've got a great lineup today. I'm going to talk about different stuff. I'm going to talk about the Ohio State program with Ryan Day, the recruiting he's doing compared to Urban Meyer. I thought nobody could out-recruit Urban Meyer at Ohio State, and he's doing that. We're going to talk about the NFL. Vegas is predicting the win total for the Buccaneers and the New England Patriots since they picked up Tom Brady. It's really weird to say the Buccaneers and Tom Brady. We're going to be talking about the LSU basketball signees from this week. Faraday High School, got some recruiting tidbits. And Manny High School, we're going to talk about spotlight them as our school of the week around Natchitoches, Louisiana, close to Shreveport. And we're going to talk about Huntington High School in Shreveport. But I'm going to go ahead and get into the show. And in segment one, we're going to talk about the basketball signees for LSU and head coach Will Wade. In his first year, they made the NIT. Second year, they make the NCAA tournament, the Sweet 16, and he's not able to coach the team, but they did a great job. Tremont Waters, Nas Reed, who's now in the NBA with Minnesota. Tremont's with the Boston Celtics. Bigby Williams will probably be called up in the next, whenever they have a season, right? Maybe if they come back, he might get called up when they expand the rosters, which is maybe when we come back with basketball from the NBA. But I think the future of LSU basketball is bright. The recruiting class coming in, I do watch a lot of basketball. I'm known for football, but I do watch a lot of baseball, basketball, football, and track. That's really my expertise, those four sports. And I'm so excited we're expanding to those sports. But let's go ahead and get down to brass tacks and talk about these signees that LSU signed this week. Jalen Cook is a point guard from Walker High School. I had a chance to see Jalen Cook play football for 2 years, and he was an incredible receiver and cornerback. I mean, Jalen Cook is an SEC recruit in football, but he's going to play basketball for Will Wade, and he reminds me a lot of Derek Taylor, who played way back in the day with Redemptorist High School. Derek Taylor was a Baton Rouge product like Jalen. Jalen Cook is very much a passer and a shooter, meaning he will distribute the ball. He can shoot. He's got some range. He can dribble the ball. He can penetrate. Smart kid. Averaged 29.5 points a game at Walker. I mean, that's almost 30 points a game. 6 foot tall, might be a little over 6 foot, maybe 6.5 feet. And I think Jalen Cook's going to be a great basketball player at LSU. He might take a year to maximize his talent, kind of like what Skylar Mays did at LSU. His first year, he really wasn't, maximized yet. He was a late bloomer, physically. And I think Jalen's kind of that way. I think Jalen's probably a little heavier, because he played football, probably 180, 185 in weight. You don't have to weigh a ton to play basketball, but I think he's a little bit bigger player coming into the program. But Cook is going to be able to come in and at least distribute the ball and be a true point guard for the LSU Tigers out of Walker High School. And like I said, he could have signed a D1 football scholarship. Cameron Thomas, who signed out of Oak Hill Academy. Oak Hill Academy, if you're not familiar with Oak Hill Academy, they have produced many future NBA first-round picks, many former All-Americans in college basketball. Cameron Thomas, this kid's legitimate 6'4" in height. He's a scorer. This guy never took a shot he hated. Watching him on film, watching him in a game on ESPN, like a lot of people did, this guy can score. And, he's not a guy that scored against nobodies. Oak of the Hill plays big-time schools. And it's a big-time program. And, I mean, this guy's got range beyond the three-point line. He's big. I mean, he's going to be about 210 probably when he's done. He's a big guard. He could be a two guard. He could be a point guard. He passes the ball really well. But his shot, man, I mean, it's incredible. This guy has a chance to be a first-round pick, and he's going to be that Skylar Mays replacement right away for LSU. He's going to be able to do everything. I mean, he can carry the team shooting. He was, offered by all the big guys, and I think he's going to be phenomenal. And then you have Mwani Wilkinson, who signs with LSU out of a great school in Nevada. Gorman's known for great football. Their football team's always nationally ranked in the top 10 every year. And, let me tell you how good the program is. They won 9 straight state titles in basketball. 9 straight state titles in basketball at Gorman High School. But if you watch film on Monty, and he's originally from Louisiana, his family is, he's 6'6", 210, going to be a big guy, and he can run the floor, he can rebound, average 19 points a game, 10 rebounds a game. He's exactly what Will Wade looks for, a guy that'll rebound, somebody can run the court, he can dunk with the best of them, and he's got a good shot. And I think Monty's going to come in and challenge for a starting spot, or if he doesn't, he's going to be a great player off the bench. Another great pickup he's in the top 100 prospects in the country. And then you got Eric Gaines from Lathona, Georgia. Let me tell you about this. Eric Gaines, his teammate on the basketball team, was the 10th best recruit in the country that signed with Georgia in football. Broderick Jones. Broderick 6'5", 320, offensive guard, tackle. LSU recruited Broderick Jones to play football. Ed Orgeron did. And he signs with Georgia. He was the number 1 ranked offensive lineman in the state of Georgia. Well, he was starting on the basketball team with Eric Gaines, who's 6'3", 6'4", another guy that can jump out of the gym with a great vertical. He can shoot. He can play guard. He can play two guard. Another great athlete for LSU, a guy with a lot of hop. And he's going to fill out. He's probably 160 right now, but he's going to end up being about 200 pounds in a couple of years. But I think it's interesting that team, that basketball team that Eric Gaines played on, and by the way, he's one of the top 100 players in the country in basketball, was Broderick Jones, the best offensive lineman in the state for football, who signed with Georgia. Also in this class, Sharif O'Neal, Shaquille O'Neal's son. Sharif was one of the top 100 prospects in the country when he came out his senior year out of California. He's not 7 foot tall like his dad, but he is about 6'9", 6'10", and he's very athletic. And in his first year, he signed with UCLA. He had heart surgery his first year, so he didn't play his freshman season at UCLA. This past year, he played in 13 games and averaged about 2-3 points a game and decided to transfer. And I think he's going to be great at LSU because he's had 2 years to fill out. I think his frame, he's kind of a raw 6'9", 10 kid that's not really, he doesn't weigh as much as he can. I mean, he's probably 205, 210, and he's going to be about 220 probably by the time he suits up for LSU, and that's what they want him at, 220, 225. But he's going to be a glass guy. Again, another guy with height that they didn't have this past year. They can rebound, and he's got a nice shot. Shaquille O'Neal's son. Sharif was actually, to his credit, was on a very talented UCLA team. Basically, 4 of UCLA starters were NBA prospects, and they were older than him. And so he was a guy off the bench. So that's not to discredit his talent. It's just they were loaded with talent. UCLA, I thought, was going to do great if they were going to have the NCAA tournament this year. What they didn't have the NCAA tournament. But Sharif, for most teams, would have been a starter this year. You also have California native from Crenshaw High School that also played at Oak Hill Academy with Cameron Thomas, the other LSU signee. Bradley's 6'8", 6'9", about 270. And I think he's one of these guys that's a diamond in the rough that can rebound. Kind of players that you see Michigan State picks up every year. You know, Michigan State, they don't always sign, top 50 guys, but they develop these big guys that are tough. And they're glass guys, man. They rebound the ball. And this guy, Bradley Ezra, is, he's 270, 6'9", 6'8". Will probably get down to 260 at LSU, maybe even 255, but he's going to be a presence down low in the SEC. And again, it reminds me of those Michigan State, Iowa teams, Michigan teams that have a bunch of 6'9s, 6'10s, and they can rebound, and you need that in a tournament. You can also add Josh Leblanc in this class, who transferred from Georgetown, who prepped at Madison Prep in Baton Rouge. Josh Leblanc, I had a chance to watch Josh play for Georgetown a year ago, and I'm going to tell you, this guy's phenomenal. I mean, Josh Leblanc was the basketball player of the year in Louisiana his senior year at Madison Prep in Baton Rouge. He's 6'7", legit, long, like he's 6'10" long. Guy is very physical. If you had a chance like me to watch him at Georgetown, I mean, he is incredibly gifted. He's about 225. Probably be 230 when he plays next year for LSU, but he is phenomenal, and he's got a great shot. Very physical. Like, when he goes up, he's got a vertical, and I mean, he's very, very physical. He reminds me a lot of Brandon Bass, but more physical. Brandon Bass was like 6'8", 240 from Capitol High School way back in the day for LSU. Had a pretty good career in the NBA. Was a good shooter, very physical, athletic player. I think Josh LeBlanc is a more athletic Brandon Bass. I think he's going to have a chance to be an NBA starter one day. This guy was a great pickup from Georgetown as a transfer. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about Manny High School. We're going to spotlight Manny High School and Jess Curtis. We'll be right back.
Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brecheen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brecheen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and get connected today.
Welcome back, everyone. Our high school spotlight of the week is Manny High School. If you're not familiar with Manny High School, it's really in its own location, but it's between, Natchitoches, right in the outskirts of Natchitoches. You can get to it, between Natchitoches and I would guess like DeSoto Parish in the middle. It's a great place to fish, even though I've never been able to go to Toledo Bend. I've always wanted to fish Toledo Bend, but I heard it's the greatest place ever to bass fish. Manny High School's football program has really taken off the last few years. I mean, they've either challenged for a state championship or been to the semifinals, 5 of the last 6 years under head coach Jess Curtis. What Jess Curtis has done with this program is phenomenal. Prior to him, they weren't winning. They weren't winning to the steady faction of like it was understood that we're going to go out and win, the mentality. But a few years prior to that, David Feaster was the head coach at Manny and had a lot of success. So he started bringing that in. And then Jess Curtis took it to another level. And, this is a program that has an average under 10 wins the last 6 years, which is phenomenal. I mean, they play some tough teams. They play up in class during the season, and the teams they play are really good. In 2019, Manny went to the Superdome and finished runner-up for the state championship. They have a lot of talent coming back. This 19 team was young. The 18 team that made the semis was very experienced, had a lot of seniors on it. So this 19 team last year was all freshmen and sophomores. Manny High School, just to give you some tidbits, they have a recruit that signed with Texas back in 2018, at the end of the 2018 season. His name is Myron Warren. And if you follow recruiting, Myron Warren was about 6'3", about 230, ran about a 4'6", was a defensive end for Manny High School. Now, LSU did not offer him. Maybe the need wasn't there. Maybe they didn't need a DN, and Texas did. Tom Herman. But Myron Warren, keep an eye on this guy. He's a redshirt freshman. He's probably going to move to D tackle. He's 6'2" now and a half, 290. He went from 225, 230 to 290. Still runs about a 4'8", 4'7", and has a chance to be an NFL guy one day. And get this, LSU and Texas are going to play in Tiger Stadium this year, so remember the name Myron Warren from Manny High School. Also from Manny High School, we've mentioned this before in our magazine, our TV show. A.J. Carter will be the starting tailback for Arizona State this year from Manny High School. A.J. Carter's about 6 feet, about 220, and can run. And he had a lot of success last year as a freshman at Arizona State from Manny High School. A.J. Carter's another future NFL prospect. And they have another kid coming up who's going to be a senior this coming season for the class of 221. His name is Terrence Williams. Terrence is a bigger version of A.J. Carter. I saw A.J. Carter play. I've seen Terrence Williams play. And Terrence is every bit of 6 foot tall, maybe a little taller, about 215, 220 in weight, runs a 4.5 40, and he has a burst. And he's put together. I mean, there's no fat on this kid. This kid is sculptured. Terrence Williams is also getting looks as an outside linebacker. And I think he's a Patrick Queen type, from LSU that's going to go high in the NFL draft. Patrick Queen was a running back at Livonia back in the day and learned how to play linebacker at LSU. I think Terrence Williams is similar to that. This kid runs a 4.5 40, and he's 10 pounds bigger than Queen was coming out of high school. Don't forget the name Terrence Williams. He's the next great player from Manny High School, and he's also the biggest sleeper to me in North Louisiana. And maybe the biggest sleeper outside linebacker in the state of Louisiana going into the 220 season that we'll find out hopefully soon when that'll be. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more on the sports scouting report with Lee Brecheen. We got more to talk about. We're going to talk about Faraday High School when we return. We'll be right back.
Make sure to check out our website at lafootballmagazine.com for all the latest recruiting information statewide. This week, check out all of our recruiting interviews with all the latest prospects and coaches. Also, make sure to check out our website to stay up to date with our TV show each week. That website, again, is lafootballmagazine.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Segment 3, we've got our recruiting tidbit. We're going to talk about Faraday High School. I had a chance to interview some kids from Faraday High School this week, some current players at Faraday. And like most kids, they're trying to keep in shape and train at home or go where it's safe in like groups of two or three teammates. And I talked to a couple of current Faraday High School players, and what's very neat, I want to share this with my listeners. But Dare Rosenthal, who's probably going to be the left tackle for LSU this year from Faraday, he's working out with these kids. He's back home in Faraday working out. And also working out with this group is Ronald Williams, who signed with Alabama. Ronald went to a junior college in Kansas, made All-American, and signed with Alabama as a cornerback for this upcoming season. He'll be a junior. Ronald Williams was a teammate of Dare Rosenthal, who signed with LSU at the same year. Dare went to LSU, and then Ronald went to a junior college. But what a great group. These young kids that are on the team at Faraday look up to these older players. They work out with them now. And they said Dare Rosenthal's looking good, and he'll be back at LSU. That everything's fine. He's going to be back playing for the LSU Tigers. These kids said no worries. He's going to be good. And Ronald Williams is going to be a big name in Alabama, another LSU, Louisiana recruit. And actually, LSU did not offer Ronald Williams a scholarship. So that's a first that they lose a Louisiana player that wasn't offered by LSU. But he's still a great player. I just don't think LSU needed him, and LSU was getting better signees, I think, than Alabama for the first time. Not that Alabama signs bad players. It's just LSU starting to get better players. Also a tidbit. I want to talk about high school football. Huntington High School in Shreveport just hired as athletic director and defensive coordinator Scott Abernathy from Ruston High School. If you remember Scott Abernathy, he was the longtime head coach of North DeSoto High School in Stonewall, Louisiana, and he was also longtime head coach at Southwood and spent a number of years with Byrd High School as an assistant, and he's a graduate of Houghton High School. He's a great coach. He spent last year at Ruston in 2019. They had a great year at Ruston. And he'll be joining head coach Stephen Dennis, who's done a phenomenal job with Huntington. I mean, Huntington's the school where Jarrett Fobbs went that signed with LSU, Kenny Davidson that played at LSU and the Steelers, Troy Edwards, who played at Tech and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Troy Edwards was phenomenal. If you remember the Tech-Nebraska game, he broke the records for yardage in a game, NCAA record, and catches. With Tim Rete was the quarterback for Louisiana Tech. But Huntington's putting together a special staff. They get it. Scott Abernathy, who's the athletic director, D coordinator. They pick up Jeremy Wilburn as the offensive coordinator, who spent a number of years at Airline High School. And Jeremy played at Byrd High School for Mike Suggs. Jeremy also played at Northwestern State in football. So between having Jeremy Wilburn come in, Scott Abernathy to join Stephen Dennis, the head coach, they're really building a great staff. And when you get a great staff, you're probably going to have a great year in football, especially on a high school level. And they have a good team this coming year. Huntington's got some good players. They always have talent. But I think this staff is going to get the most out of them even more this year. And I think Stephen Dennis did a great job in 18 and 19. I think 20 is going to be a great year for them. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about Ohio State and Coach Ryan Day and the great job he's doing in recruiting and getting out of the shadow of Urban Meyer. I'll be right back.
If you're a parent that needs a highlight tape and you need consulting advice on how to deal with the recruiting process, please contact Lee Brecheen, who has had over 30 years of experience dealing with college coaches and making highlight tapes all over the country. For more information, please contact Lee Brecheen at lbrecheen@aol.com. That is lbrecheen@aol.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Talk about Ohio State Buckeyes, the Ohio State University. There's so much to be said about Ohio State because Joe Burrow, a lot of those Ohio fans became LSU fans back in 18 and this past year in 19. And I know it had to be really crazy for the state of Ohio to cheer on LSU. And Joe Burrow was a part of the team at Ohio State for, 3 years. And then Joe brings a national championship to LSU and the Heisman Trophy winner. And Ohio State loses in the playoffs to Clemson. But this is about Ryan Day. And I'm going to tell you something. Nobody really knew who Ryan Day was before he got the head job. I didn't even know who he was. And I've worked with a lot of college coaches. I knew of the name, but not really much history on Ryan Day. But he takes over for Urban Meyer. And all he does is he's recruiting at an all-time level, which I didn't think would happen. I mean, think of this. Urban Meyer signed Tim Tebow at Florida, won the Heisman Trophy. Not a bad recruit, right? Kept it going since Danny Werfel, Emmitt Smith. They bring in Tim Tebow. He also signs Percy Harvin at Florida from Maryland, from the state of Maryland, okay? Percy Harvin was one of the greatest players to ever play in the SEC as a receiver. He gets to Ohio State. Urban Meyer signs, get this, Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, not too bad, two-time All-American players. Dwayne Haskins. He gets Dwayne Haskins out of Maryland to go to Ohio State. He signs Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, I'm just naming a handful. And then he signs Joe Burrow, who wins the Heisman. So he signs 2 Heisman Trophy winners, right? And all these other names I named. And there's 7 other first-round draft picks from Ohio State that he signed. 3 are going to be in this upcoming draft for Ohio State that were his signees, Urban Meyer's. So you think nobody can out-recruit Urban Meyer, right? Well, Ryan Day leads the nation as number 1 recruiting class for the class of 221 right now. He's number 1 in the country. And Ohio State, get this stat. Urban Meyer never finished number 1 in the country in recruiting. With all these recruits, he never had a number 1 class at Ohio State. He had some top 5, top 8, top 10 classes. That's shocking, isn't it? Now, I'm not saying Ryan Day is going to hold on to the number 1 class come February 5th. But it's amazing what he's doing. Just like what Ed Orgeron did with LSU, winning the national championship, and nobody thought he would do it. Ohio State has 13 players committed that are in the top 150 in the country right now in the nation. They have 14 players committed in the top 300 players in the country. They have 16 total commitments. They have the top 3 players in Ohio committed, securing your state. And Ryan Day, the year before, taking over the job from Urban Meyer, he secured all the top players in Ohio, which is really hard to do at Michigan down the street, Michigan State, Penn State, and everybody coming in like Notre Dame and these other teams trying to recruit, even Clemson. But, man, what a job this guy's doing. And basically, regardless if they finish number 1 or number 3 in the country in recruiting or in top 5, Ohio State's going to still be in this thing every year, the playoffs. When you're getting the top players in the country, it's amazing what they're doing. Now, Ohio's not exactly close to the South, and they're recruiting really well in Florida, Texas, and North Carolina. They're actually recruiting the state of Texas better than LSU if you look at the top players they've got in the last 3 years. I mean, and that started with Urban Meyer and Tom Herman. When Tom Herman was on the staff, they got 5 of the top 15 kids in Texas one year. One's this Jeffrey Okere, who's a corner that's going to be in the draft, right? First round. I mean, they're recruiting Texas. I mean, when you go to Oklahoma, you can understand a Texas kid going to Oklahoma. It's so much ties there, and distance is nothing. LSU, very close. But going to Ohio, getting 3 or 4 of the top players in Texas every year to the top 20, it's amazing. But don't discredit. I'm not discrediting Urban Meyer. I'm just saying I'm shocked how great Ryan Day is doing. And there's no drop-off in recruiting at all. And in the dead period, he's getting commitments right and left with no one even visiting campus, which is unprecedented. I mean, nobody's visiting campus for junior day right now. Nothing's going on. And they're picking up 5, 6 commits since the country was kind of closed down. It's going to be tough for Michigan and Jim Harbaugh to overcome this. If Jim Harbaugh cannot recruit with Ohio State, it's going to be hard to beat him. It's going to be hard to beat Ryan Day, which everybody thought when Urban Meyer left that Michigan would rise over Ohio State because of Jim. But it's going to be tough. They need to start beating the Buckeyes because he's not doing really well against them the last 3 years. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about the NFL, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How many wins do we think they'll win? I'm going to throw it out there, and I'm going to tell you what Vegas thinks. How many wins does Vegas have the Buccaneers winning in 2020 and also New England Patriots? We'll be right back.
Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brecheen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brecheen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and get connected today.
Welcome back to the show, the Sports Scouting Report with Lee Brecheen. I'm glad to be able to do this show today. I hope everybody's enjoying the information, and want to go ahead and get to the NFL. I mean, Vegas always predicts wins for NFL teams. Vegas has the Patriots winning 8.5 games. Now, I don't know how you win a half a game, but 8.5 games. I guess you tie 2 games. I don't know, but I don't see New England winning. I know that Vegas is never really wrong. They're wrong sometimes. I just don't see Belichick losing and having 8 wins. I don't see that happening. The guy's a genius. Tom Brady is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, just based on just Super Bowls and what he's done with one team. Incredible. I grew up a Terry Bradshaw fan, but he won 4 Super Bowls out of 4 Super Bowls. Like, he's 4-0. Brady, hey, what a job he's done. I mean, one of the best ever. But I don't see the Patriots winning just 8 games. That means they don't make the playoffs. I don't see that happening. I think Belichick has rebuilt this team around Brady about 5 times. Like, he's had his receivers retire off. His O&D line's been changed 3 times since Brady's been the starter. And Belichick's rebuilt his defense about 5 times in the last 15 years. About at least every 3 years, 4 years, he rebuilds his team. He's a genius. So I have to disagree with Vegas. I think the Patriots will win a minimum of 10 games in 2020. Might not get 11, and 10 will get you in the playoffs. And if you get Bill Belichick in the playoffs, you win a game, all of a sudden you're in it. The Buccaneers, Vegas has the Buccaneers winning 9 games. This I agree with a little more. Tom Brady, I want him to do great. I don't want him beating the Saints, so I want him to lose 2 games. So that's a game in the Dome and a game at Tampa Bay. I don't see Tampa Bay steamrolling everybody in the conference, including Atlanta, Carolina. 2 great teams. I mean, they've got Matt Ryan in Atlanta. Still have Julio Jones. They still have a real good defense, Deion Jones. Carolina, they get good quarterback play. They're a Super Bowl team. They have a really good defense, even though they're a couple of guys retired. But, I think they got a lot of talent coming up at Carolina. 9 wins is basically what I would agree with Vegas. So I think New England will keep winning. I think Tampa Bay is going to struggle to get in the playoffs. I don't see Tampa Bay's offense being any more talented than New England. Proven talent, Edelman, the tight ends he had in New England, I just don't see that proven dominant offense. He does have a good offensive line coming up. Not a great run game, but a real good defense. Tampa Bay's drafted really well on defense, but I just don't think the team has that mentality to say, look, we're going to the playoffs, we're going to win a Super Bowl like New England had. Now, can Brady bring that? Yes. I mean, Burrow brought that to LSU. Tim Tebow brought that to Florida. But I don't see them winning more than 9, maybe 10. When Joe Montana left the 49ers, I was growing up like a lot of people listening. I was saddened when Joe Montana did not retire at San Francisco 49er. I mean, it just didn't seem right when he put that Kansas City Chiefs jersey on. And I think he took them to the playoffs, but it wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same. Everybody's going to remember Montana as a 49er, not a Kansas City Chief player. We're going to remember Brady as a Patriot, not as a Buccaneer. But I wish him the best. I just want him to lose 2 games against the Saints. One in the Dome, one at Tampa Bay, where you see in the end zone that big old, pirate ship and all that stuff. But, I like the coach at Tampa Bay. I like the franchise. They're just in the wrong division for me. I like the Saints. And my team growing up is Pittsburgh Steelers. And then the Saints. We're going to go ahead and go to our mailbag. And in our mailbag, we have one question this week from a gentleman, Ralph from Houghton, Louisiana, asked, who is the greatest quarterback to ever come out of Louisiana Tech? Well, Ralph, this is an easy question. Terry Bradshaw. But from a statistical standpoint and stats and yards, Tim Rattay. Tim Rattay had a great career at Louisiana Tech. I don't think a lot of people give him enough mention, when he was the quarterback at Tech with Troy Edwards, who played at Huntington High School. Tim Rattay was a heck of a quarterback in college. Actually, Tech was on TV a lot because of Tim Rattay and Troy Edwards. I think the best combo I've ever seen in Louisiana was Rowan Davey and Josh Reed and Tim Rattay and Troy Edwards. Those were 2 phenomenal combos in college. And then Tulane had Sean King and Roydell Williams. Those are the 3 I remember that were really like. And then Tommy Hodson had Wendell Davis. Phenomenal quarterback to receiver. Just fun to watch him just for that. But Tim Rattay, one of the greatest ever quarterbacks to play out of the Louisiana. And look, he came from a junior college. He's from Utah. And did a great job for Coach Gary Croton, who ended up being a offensive coordinator for Les Miles the year LSU beat Ohio State for the national championship. Gary Croton was in the NFL with the Bears. Great guy. But he was responsible for recruiting Tim Rattay from the state of Utah to go to Ruston, Louisiana to play at Louisiana Tech. But look, Terry Bradshaw, who prepped at Woodlawn, everybody knows that. It went to Woodlawn High School in Shreveport. First pick of the 1970 draft for the Pittsburgh Steelers, my team. Is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game of football. 4 Super Bowl appearances, 4 wins. Retired before the age of 35. He didn't play like 40 years old like Tom Brady's 42. It was scary. If Terry Bradshaw wouldn't have had any injuries and would have played till he was like 38, 39, he might have won another 2 Super Bowls. Because the Steelers, all they lacked was really a quarterback. The last couple of years after him, Mark Malone took over. And they had a big gap there until, Rosenberger came in and gave them stability for 10-plus years now. He's still the quarterback. Rosenberger's won 2 Super Bowls. Bradshaw won 4. That's 6 Super Bowl wins. Neil O'Donnell was the losing quarterback for the Steelers. And Rosenberger lost a Super Bowl to the Packers. So they're 6-2 in Super Bowls, which is one of the best in the NFL. Now the Patriots are tied with the Steelers for Super Bowl wins. But thank you, Ralph, for writing in. And look, anybody else that writes in from the mailbag, you can email us at lbrecheen@aol.com. Or you can send it to our website, lafootballmagazine.com. And don't be shy. You can be 8 years old to 90 years old if you're a fan of Louisiana football. If you have an idea that you want us to start, or if you have a question, check us out in the mailbag. We'll be glad to answer. Jay Slajern's our editor. He can also get me those messages. I can get them personally from lbrecheen@aol.com. Watch our TV show on YouTube. If you don't have Cox Cable or CW21 in Shreveport or ETEL in Gonzales or CBS in Lake Charles, check us out on YouTube. Just type in Louisiana Football TV magazine, and you can watch all our 219 shows on YouTube. Also, check out our podcast. Obviously, check this out and tell other people, and we hope we can grow this into something special. And I hope you enjoyed the show today. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.